The year was 2524, and space had become humanity's new frontier, teeming with mysteries and dangers alike. I was Mason Harper, a firefighter specialized in extraterrestrial emergencies, and alongside me was Dr. Ava Santos, a brilliant aerospace engineer. We were an unlikely duo, thrust together by a crisis unfolding in the vastness of space. The call came in the dead of night, an urgent distress signal from the Phoenix 7, a research satellite orbiting the planet Eridani. Reports of a fire on board had set alarms blaring across the command center. Ava's face, usually calm and composed, mirrored my own anxiety as we received our briefing. "We've got a serious situation," our commander's voice crackled through the calm. "Phoenix 7 is in jeopardy, and you two are the closest team with the right expertise. Time is of the essence." The urgency propelled us into action. Within minutes, we were aboard the Nightwing, a sleek, specialized spacecraft designed for rapid response. As we blasted off into the star-speckled abyss, the gravity of our mission weighed heavily on us. Our journey to Phoenix 7 was tense, the silence of space juxtaposing the storm of thoughts racing through our minds. Ava double-checked the equipment, state-of-the-art firefighting gear, environmental suits, and tools for any imaginable repair. As we approached the satellite, the severity of the situation became chillingly clear. Phoenix 7, once a symbol of human ingenuity and exploration, now resembled a wounded beast, its exterior blistered and charred. Plumes of smoke spiraled into the void, a stark reminder of the chaos within. Docking with the crippled satellite was a challenge in itself. Ava piloted the Nightwing with precision, her hands steady despite the swirling unease. We docked, and the airlock hissed open, revealing the grim reality of our mission. Inside Phoenix 7, the scene was one of devastation. Corridors were filled with a smoky haze, emergency lights flickering in a rhythmic warning. The smell of burnt plastic and metal filled the air, an olfactory testament to the fire's wrath. Ava and I suited up, our suits a thin barrier between us and the hostile environment. Our mission was clear: contain the fire, save the scientists, and uncover the truth behind this disaster. As we made our initial assessment, something felt off. The pattern of the fire, the damage, it didn't add up. Ava's eyes met mine, a silent acknowledgement that this was no ordinary accident. We were standing on the threshold of the unknown, a dangerous puzzle waiting to be solved. Little did we know, the flames were just the beginning of a much darker mystery that lurked within the confines of Phoenix 7. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. The Nightwing's docking clamp secured us to the Phoenix 7 with a final, metallic thud, a sound that marked the beginning of our foray into the unknown. I, Mason Harper, alongside Dr. Ava Santos, stood at the airlock, ready to face whatever lay beyond. The gravity of the situation was palpable, the weight of potential lives at stake pressing upon us. As the airlock door slid open with a hiss, we were greeted by a wave of heat and smoke. The interior of Phoenix 7, once a pristine testament to human ingenuity, was now a labyrinth of destruction. Blackened walls, melted equipment, and debris littered the corridors, the aftermath of a fire that raged with an almost malevolent intent. Ava led the way, her expertise in aerospace engineering crucial in navigating the damaged satellite. Her eyes darted around, taking in every detail, every anomaly that could provide a clue to the fire's origin. My focus, trained on firefighting and rescue, was on finding the quickest route to the most critical areas. The satellite's main corridor stretched out before us, a gauntlet of hazards. The fire had warped the metal, creating obstacles that tested our agility and resolve. Overhead, exposed wires sparked intermittently, a reminder of the precariousness of our situation. As we progressed, The extent of the damage became increasingly evident. The walls bore the scars of intense heat, and the air was thick with a toxic cocktail of chemicals and smoke. It was a miracle the station's integrity was still holding. The central hub, once a bustling center of activity, was now eerily silent, save for the crackling of distant flames. Screens flickered with static, their data lost to the chaos. Ava approached a console, her hands moving deftly to bring up any salvageable information. The fire spread is inconsistent with standard electrical malfunctions or accidents, she said, her voice muffled by her mask. There's something else at play here. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. A fire in space was a nightmare scenario, but a fire with an unknown cause was far worse. It suggested something deliberate, a thought that added a new layer of danger to our mission. The blistered exterior of the spacecraft, visible through the reinforced windows, served as a stark reminder of the inferno we were up against. It was a race against time, each moment crucial in our efforts to contain the blaze and rescue any survivors. Ava and I exchanged a look, a mutual understanding that we were treading into uncharted territory. This was no routine mission. It was a plunge into a mystery shrouded in flames and smoke. Our journey through the damaged satellite was fraught with challenges, but our resolve was steadfast. We were a team, a firefighter and an engineer, united by a common goal: to save lives and uncover the truth behind the orbiting inferno that threatened to consume us all. The oppressive heat and acrid smoke tested our endurance as Dr. Ava Santos and I, Mason Harper, continued our precarious journey through the Phoenix 7. With each step, the satellite revealed more of its scorched innards, a grim tapestry of destruction woven by the relentless flames. We reached what used to be the main control room, now a charred shell of its former self. Ava's expert gaze swept over the ruined consoles and blackened screens. "Look at the burn patterns here," she pointed out, her voice tinged with a mix of professional curiosity and concern. "They're too focused, too intentional. This wasn't just a fire, it was a reaction to something else." Her words echoed in the stifling air, adding a new layer of complexity to our mission. This wasn't merely a fight against a fire, it was an investigation into a potentially catastrophic event. The thought sent a chill through me, despite the sweltering heat surrounding us. As we ventured further, the satellite's damaged structure groaned ominously under the stress of the ongoing blaze. Each creak and moan of the metal was a stark reminder of the urgency of our task. Time was not on our side. We encountered a sealed door leading to the research labs. The security system was partially functional, its lights flickering in a feeble attempt to maintain order amidst the chaos. Ava worked swiftly to bypass the lock, her fingers moving with practiced ease. The door hissed open, revealing a scene of utter devastation. The labs, once the heart of scientific discovery aboard Phoenix 7, were now a nightmarish landscape of twisted metal and shattered glass. But it was what lay amidst the wreckage that caught our attention, a series of containment units, some broken, others ominously intact. Ava approached one of the intact units, her eyes narrowing behind her visor. "These were used for biological research," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "If the fire compromised them, there's no telling what might have been released into the station's atmosphere." The possibility sent a wave of dread through me. A fire was a known enemy, one I had trained countless hours to combat. But the prospect of an unknown biological agent lurking in the smoke added a terrifying unpredictability to our mission. We pressed on, determined to reach the living quarters in hopes of finding survivors. Each step took us deeper into the heart of the satellite, and closer to unraveling the mystery that had turned Phoenix 7 into a floating inferno. As we navigated through the labyrinth of destruction, the reality of our situation settled heavily upon us. We were in a race against time, battling not just the flames, but the shadow of an unseen threat that lurked within the confines of the damaged station. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. In the suffocating embrace of Phoenix 7, Dr. Ava Santos and I, Mason Harper, faced our first major challenge. The fire, a relentless beast, had engulfed the area surrounding the satellite's power core. This was the heart of the station, and if the fire breached the core, the consequences would be catastrophic. As we approached, the heat intensified, a wall of scorching air that threatened to drive us back. But retreat wasn't an option. We had to contain the blaze before it reached the core. Ava analyzed the layout. "The fire suppression system is offline here," she shouted over the roar of the flames. "We'll have to manually extinguish this section." I nodded, gripping my firefighting gear. This was my element, despite the alien environment. We advanced, our suits protecting us from the worst of the heat, but the intensity was like nothing I'd ever encountered. The flames danced with a ferocious energy fed by the station's materials and oxygen supply. I directed the extinguisher's nozzle, releasing a torrent of foam designed for space fires. It hissed as it hit the flames, a steamy battle between fire and coolant. Ava was at my side, working on rerouting the power to prevent a surge to the core. Her hands moved with a precision that belied the chaos around us. "Almost there," she called out, her focus unbreakable even amidst the inferno. The flames fought back with a vengeance, but slowly, we gained ground. The blaze receded, beaten back by our determined efforts. Sweat dripped down my face inside my helmet, a reminder of the exertion and the stakes. With a final hiss, the last of the flames near the core were extinguished. We stood for a moment, catching our breath, the sound of our heavy breathing loud in our helmets. "We did it," Ava said, a hint of relief in her voice. But our victory was short-lived. The fire was contained here, but the satellite still held many dangers. We pressed on, moving towards the residential section. The possibility of survivors kept us moving, driving us through the heat and the smoke. But as we moved, questions plagued my mind. What had caused this disaster? Was it an accident, a miscalculation, or something more sinister? The further we delved into the heart of Phoenix 7, the more the mystery deepened. The fire was just the beginning, a violent symptom of a much darker ailment that had struck this outpost in the stars. After overcoming the immediate threat to the power core, Ava Santos and I, Mason Harper, made our way to the satellite's laboratory wing. The corridors leading there were a maze of destruction, with the acrid smell of charred electronics hanging heavy in the air. Despite the harrowing environment, we pressed on, driven by the hope of finding survivors and uncovering the truth behind this catastrophe. The lab, when we finally reached it, was a scene of utter chaos. Glassware lay shattered, scientific equipment was strewn about, and amidst the debris, we found something that chilled us to the bone. Tucked away in a corner was a secured containment unit, its exterior scorched but intact. Ava's eyes widened as she read the labels and warning signs adorning the unit. This is a high-level biohazard container," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and disbelief. Whatever they were researching here, it was extremely dangerous. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. The fire wasn't just an accident, it was possibly a result of something gone terribly wrong with this experiment. Ava carefully examined the containment unit, ensuring it was still sealed. Her expertise as an aerospace engineer was invaluable, but even she seemed unnerved by the potential implications. "We need to check the lab's data logs," she suggested. "They might give us some insight into what they were working on and how it relates to the fire." Navigating through the wreckage, we located the lab's main computer terminal. Miraculously, it was still operational, though its systems were clearly compromised. Ava worked her magic, bypassing damaged circuits to access the encrypted files. The data we uncovered was both fascinating and horrifying. The scientists aboard Phoenix 7 had been experimenting with a volatile substance, a compound that, under certain conditions, could produce immense heat and energy. "It's like they were playing with fire," Ava muttered, the irony not lost on either of us. Our discovery made the situation all the more dire. Not only were we dealing with a rampant fire on a space station, but now there was the added danger of an unstable, potentially explosive substance. The need to find survivors and get them out safely became even more pressing. We decided to split up, with Ava continuing to gather information and me heading towards the living quarters in search of any crew members. The station groaned and creaked around us, a constant reminder of the precariousness of our situation. As I made my way through the damaged corridors, the reality of our mission weighed heavily on me. We were in the grip of an orbiting inferno, a disaster that was more than a mere accident. It was a calamity born of human curiosity and ambition, now threatening the lives of everyone aboard the Phoenix 7. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. As I, Mason Harper, ventured towards the living quarters, the station's alarms were a constant, blaring backdrop to the chaos. My heart pounded in my chest, not just from the physical exertion but also the heavy burden of hope and fear. The thought of finding survivors kept me moving, pushing through the suffocating smoke and oppressive heat. The living quarters were a grim sight. Doors hung off their hinges, personal belongings scattered in the rush to escape the inferno. In this desolation, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I rushed towards it, finding a group of scientists huddled in a makeshift shelter. Relief flooded through me. They were alive, scared and coughing from the smoke, but alive. Back in the lab, Ava Santos was piecing together the last bits of data. Her face, illuminated by the glow of the computer screen, was a mix of concentration and concern. "Mason, I found something crucial," her voice crackled over the comms. "The experiment they were conducting, it's not just volatile, it's contagious. The fire could spread this compound if we're not careful." The stakes were higher than we'd imagined. We weren't just fighting a fire, we were fighting a potential outbreak of an unknown hazardous substance. We needed a plan, and fast. "We need to evacuate the survivors and contain this, whatever it is," I replied, glancing at the frightened faces around me. Ava quickly formulated a strategy. "I'll head to the environmental control system. If I can modify the ventilation, we might be able to contain the spread of the substance. You focus on getting these people to safety." Our roles set, we sprang into action. I led the group of scientists, guiding them through the labyrinthine corridors towards the docking bay. Every step was fraught with danger, the threat of the fire and the unseen menace of the experiment hanging over us. Meanwhile, Ava navigated her way to the environmental controls. The station continued to deteriorate around her, systems failing, the structure groaning in protest. Reaching the control room, she began the intricate task of altering the ventilation system, her hands flying over the controls with practiced ease. The plan was risky, but it was our best shot at saving the survivors and preventing a catastrophe. As I ushered the last of the scientists into the safety of the night wing, I couldn't help but marvel at Ava's bravery and ingenuity. Together, we were more than just a firefighter and an engineer. We were a team facing the unknown, battling a disaster of unprecedented scale. Our efforts were a race against time, the station a ticking time bomb of fire and unknown scientific horrors. But we were determined, our resolve unshaken, as we worked to save lives and avert a disaster that threatened to go beyond the confines of Phoenix 7. The mission had transformed into a desperate battle against time and the unknown. With the survivors safely aboard the Nightwing, my attention turned back to the station. Smoke and heat filled the corridors, a relentless reminder of the peril that still loomed within Phoenix 7. I, Mason Harper, steeled myself for the next phase of our operation, assisting Ava with containing the dangerous experiment. Ava Santos was in the environmental control room, her focus unyielding as she worked to manipulate the station's ventilation system. Her voice, calm yet urgent, came through the calm. Mason, I'm redirecting airflow to isolate the contaminated areas, but I need you to manually shut down several vents. They're not responding to remote commands. Armed with the location of the vents, I navigated through the station's damaged corridors. The heat was oppressive and the smoke stung my eyes, but the urgency of our mission drove me forward. Each vent required a manual override, a task made all the more challenging by the station's failing systems and the ever-present threat of the fire. The first vent was located in a narrow service corridor, its access panel warped by the heat. Using my tools, I pried it open and initiated the shutdown sequence. The task was arduous, sweat pouring down my face as I fought against the stubborn machinery. As I moved to the next vent, a sudden explosion rocked the station. The shockwave threw me against the wall, my vision blurring. Alarms blared even louder, a cacophony of warnings that added to the chaos. Shaking off the disorientation, I pushed forward, aware that each second was precious. Meanwhile, Ava was battling her own challenges. The control systems were erratic, flickering between functionality and complete failure. She worked with a mixture of technical expertise and sheer will, determined to seal off the contaminated areas. The station continued to deteriorate around us, a once proud symbol of scientific advancement, now a death trap of fire and potential biohazard. But amidst this inferno, our resolve remained unbroken. We were a team, each relying on the other's skills and courage to see this mission through. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the last vent was shut down. I reported back to Ava, my voice hoarse from smoke inhalation. All vents secured. How are things on your end? Ava's response was a mix of relief and exhaustion. I've managed to isolate the airflow to the contaminated zones. It should prevent any further spread of the substance. Our efforts had paid off, but the danger was far from over. The fire still raged, and the station's integrity was compromised. We needed to leave, but not before ensuring that the threat was fully contained. As we prepared to make our way back to the Nightwing, the reality of what we had accomplished settled in. We had faced unimaginable dangers and had come out alive. But our story wasn't over yet. The return journey awaited, a path through a station on the brink of destruction. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. With the critical task of sealing the vents accomplished, I, Mason Harper, made my way back through the smoldering passageways of Phoenix 7. The station's structure groaned ominously, a foreboding soundtrack to my hurried steps. My mind was focused on the next phase of our mission, reuniting with Ava and preparing for our departure. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. As I rounded a corner, a flicker of movement in the shadows caught my eye. I paused, my heart pounding in my chest, and called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The response was a series of coughs and shuffling feet. From the smoke emerged a small group of scientists, their faces etched with fear and relief. They were the first survivors we had encountered since the group I had already escorted to the Nightwing. Their lab coats were singed, and their eyes red from the smoke. One of them, a young biologist named Dr. Emily Gwynn, stepped forward. "We thought we were the only ones left," she gasped, her voice hoarse. "We'd been hiding in a storage closet since the fire broke out." I reassured them that they were not alone and that evacuation was underway. But as we spoke, Dr. Nguyen revealed chilling details about the experiment that had been conducted on the satellite. It was supposed to be a breakthrough in biofuel technology, she explained, but something went horribly wrong. The compound we created was unstable, far more potent and dangerous than we ever anticipated. Her words confirmed our worst fears. The disaster wasn't just a fire, it was a calamitous scientific error, one that had unleashed an unprecedented hazard aboard Phoenix 7. Urging the scientists to follow, I led them towards the Nightwing, mindful of the station's deteriorating condition. Every step was a gamble, the path fraught with debris and the ever-present risk of structural collapse. Meanwhile, Ava, in the environmental control room, had successfully contained the spread of the hazardous compound. Her voice crackled through the calm, a beacon of hope in the midst of chaos. "Mason, I've done all I can here. I'm heading to the Nightwing. Meet you there." "On my way with more survivors," I replied, my voice a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Our reunion at the Nightwing was a moment of bittersweet relief. The survivors, though shaken, were safe for now, and our mission was nearing its end. But the gravity of what had transpired on Phoenix 7 hung heavily over us. The experiment's consequences had been far-reaching, a stark reminder of the fine line between scientific ambition and recklessness. As Ava and I prepared the Nightwing for departure, we knew that the ordeal of Phoenix 7 would leave a lasting imprint on our lives. The Inferno we had battled was not just a physical blaze, but a fire of human folly, a warning of the dangers that lurk in the pursuit of knowledge without caution. Our journey back to Earth would be a time for reflection, for understanding the full impact of the events we had witnessed. But for now, our focus was on survival, on leaving the orbiting Inferno behind and returning home. As the Nightwing prepared for departure, a new, dire revelation emerged. Dr. Emily and Gwen, the biologist we rescued, shared details about the experiment that cast a new light on our perilous situation. The compound they had been working on, initially intended as a groundbreaking biofuel, had properties that were far more volatile and unpredictable than anyone had anticipated. It reacts to heat and pressure in ways we couldn't foresee, Dr. Gwen explained, her face etched with guilt and fear. "It's not just flammable, it's almost sentient. It seeks out energy sources, exacerbating the fire, making it spread faster and more aggressively." Ava and I exchanged a look of disbelief. This was no ordinary fire. We were dealing with something that bordered on the edge of science fiction. The implications were grave. If even a trace of this compound made its way back to Earth, the consequences could be catastrophic. "We need to ensure every bit of this substance is contained before we leave," Ava declared, her voice steady despite the enormity of our task. The responsibility weighed heavily on us, but the safety of Earth and its inhabitants was our top priority. We donned our protective suits once more, heading back into the heart of the station. Our mission had shifted from rescue to containment. We had to find the source of the compound and neutralize it. Navigating through the smoky corridors, we found our way to the lab where the experiment had originated. The room was a disaster zone, with broken equipment and scorched walls. Amidst the debris, we found the containment unit that held the remaining samples of the volatile compound. The substance pulsed with a strange, almost hypnotic glow, its container cracked but still intact. Ava examined it carefully. "We need to transfer this into a secure containment unit on the Nightwing," she said. "Any mishandling could be disastrous." The task was delicate and dangerous. We worked with meticulous care, transferring the glowing substance into a specialized container designed to withstand extreme conditions. Every movement was calculated, every step measured. With the compound secured, we made a thorough sweep of the lab, ensuring no traces were left behind. The fire had consumed much, but we couldn't take any chances. The thought of this substance falling into the wrong hands, or worse, causing a catastrophe on Earth was a scenario we had to prevent at all costs. Finally, with the lab cleared and the compound safely contained, we made our way back to the Nightwing. Our bodies were weary, our minds exhausted, but our spirits were buoyed by the knowledge that we had averted a potential disaster. As the Nightwing detached from Phoenix 7, leaving the smoldering satellite behind, we knew that our mission was far from over. The compound would need to be studied and neutralized safely, away from any population centers. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. The Nightwing, carrying us and the survivors, drifted away from the smoldering remains of Phoenix 7. Ava Santos and I, Mason Harper, were confronted with a critical decision that could determine the fate of countless lives. In the cockpit, Ava's hands moved with precision over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. The compound we've contained could provide invaluable scientific insights, but the risks are enormous, she said, her voice heavy with the weight of responsibility. I nodded in agreement. The compound's potential for both innovation and destruction was a double-edged sword. We have to consider the safety of the population. The slightest mistake in handling this could lead to disaster. The conversation was interrupted by a distress signal from Earth Command. The voice of our commander crackled through the comms, urgent and grave. Nightwing, we've been monitoring your situation. The compound you've secured must be dealt with utmost caution. We've designated a remote facility for its containment and study. You are to proceed there immediately. The directive was clear, but it didn't make our decision any easier. Transporting such a hazardous substance through space was fraught with peril. A single miscalculation could lead to an uncontrolled release of the compound. We need a plan that minimizes any risk of exposure during transport, Ava asserted. She began outlining a route that would take us away from populated areas, a precautionary measure to ensure the safety of Earth's inhabitants. I focused on securing the containment unit in the cargo hold, double-checking every seal and lock. The scientists we had rescued were huddled together, still shaken by the events. Among them, Dr. Emily Nguyen watched our efforts, her eyes reflecting the turmoil of guilt and concern. As we set our course for the remote facility, the enormity of our task loomed over us. The journey would be long and fraught with danger. Every system on the Nightwing would have to function flawlessly to ensure the safe transport of the compound. Ava piloted the spacecraft with expert hands, her focus unyielding. I monitored the containment unit, my mind racing through every possible scenario. The survivors rested, their fate in the fate of the compound inextricably linked to our actions. The journey was tense, the silence of space punctuated only by the hum of the Nightwing's engines and the occasional status report. We were on a path fraught with danger, but driven by the determination to prevent any further catastrophes. Our decision to transport the compound to a secure facility was not made lightly, but it was the only choice we had to ensure the greater safety of humanity. Every hour was a test of our vigilance. Ava and I took turns monitoring the ship's systems and the containment unit. The compound, secured in its specialized container, remained inert, but the knowledge of its potential danger was ever present in our minds. The scientists aboard, recovering from their ordeal, offered their expertise in managing the compound. Dr. Nguyen, in particular, became an invaluable asset, providing insight into the substance's properties and behavior. Her assistance was a small but significant step in her journey to redemption, having been one of the minds behind the experiment that led to this crisis. As Earth Command's designated facility grew closer, a mix of relief and apprehension filled the air. The facility, located on a barren moon, was equipped with the latest technology for handling and studying hazardous materials. It represented the end of our journey, but also the beginning of a new chapter in dealing with the fallout of Phoenix 7. The Nightwing's descent to the facility was smooth, Ava's expertise ensuring a safe landing. As we touched down, a team of specialists in hazmat suits approached, ready to take over the containment and study of the volatile substance. Stepping out of the Nightwing, I felt a sense of accomplishment, tempered with the knowledge that our actions had averted a potential disaster. We had faced an unprecedented challenge and emerged victorious, but the experience left us changed, more aware of the delicate balance between scientific pursuit and safety. Our mission was complete, but the story of Phoenix 7 and the dangerous compound we had contained would continue. It was a stark reminder of the risks inherent in pushing the boundaries of science and the relentless vigilance required to safeguard humanity from the unforeseen dangers lurking in the unknown reaches of space. The landing on the barren moon marked the beginning of a critical phase. As Ava Santos and I, Mason Harper, watched the hazmat team secure the compound from Phoenix 7, a sense of relief washed over us. Yet, our mission was not entirely complete. We had one final, crucial task: ensuring the well-being of the scientists we had rescued from the Inferno in space. We escorted the scientists from the Nightwing, their faces a mixture of relief and residual fear from their harrowing experience. The facility's medical team was ready, providing immediate care and conducting thorough examinations. Among the scientists, Dr. Emily Nguyen appeared particularly introspective, her experience on Phoenix 7 having left a deep impact on her. While the medical team attended to the scientists, Ava and I debriefed with the facility's director. We recounted the events aboard the satellite, the discovery of the volatile compound, and our efforts to contain the fire and evacuate the crew. The director listened intently, noting the critical details that would help in preventing similar disasters in the future. As we spoke, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey we had undertaken. From the urgent call to the fiery corridors of Phoenix 7, each moment had tested our resolve, our skills, and our courage. We had faced the unknown and emerged not just as survivors, but as saviors in a scenario that could have had far graver consequences. With the debriefing concluded, Ava and I took a moment to rest. We sat in the facility's observatory, gazing out at the vast expanse of space. The stars, distant and serene, seemed to stand in stark contrast to the chaos and danger we had just endured. "It's over," Ava said, a hint of disbelief in her voice. "We did it, Mason. We saved them." I nodded, the reality of our achievement slowly sinking in. "We did. But this was a close call. It's a reminder of how fragile our endeavors in space can be." The conversation was a mix of reflection and resolve. We knew that our experiences on Phoenix 7 would stay with us, shaping our future decisions and actions. The lessons learned would be invaluable, not just for us, but for the entire spacefaring community. As we prepared to leave the facility and return to Earth, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tempered with the knowledge that our journey in space would always be fraught with challenges and dangers. Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories. Back on Earth, the aftermath of the Phoenix 7 incident unfolded like ripples across a pond, affecting many. For Ava Santos and me, Mason Harper, the return was not a conclusion, but a segue into a new chapter of responsibility and vigilance. Our next task was at a secure research facility, where the containment and neutralization of the volatile compound from Phoenix 7 was to be carried out. The facility, nestled in a remote area, was a fortress of scientific endeavor, equipped with advanced technology and staffed by top experts in hazardous materials. Ava's expertise was crucial in the process. Her knowledge of the compound's properties, combined with the data we had collected from the satellite, provided the team with valuable insights. She worked closely with the scientists, devising a method to safely neutralize the compound without triggering its volatile reactions. I was involved in the security aspect, ensuring that the containment protocols were foolproof. The risk of the compound getting into the wrong hands, or worse, causing an environmental disaster, was a scenario we were determined to prevent. The procedure to neutralize the compound was meticulous and fraught with tension. Every step was carefully planned and executed, with multiple contingencies in place. The compound, once a glowing symbol of danger, was rendered inert through a series of chemical processes, its threat diminishing with each passing moment. As the final remnants of the compound were safely neutralized, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the facility. The danger that had loomed over us like a dark cloud was finally dissipated. The Phoenix 7 incident, a stark reminder of the perils of unchecked scientific ambition, was brought to a close. However, the incident sparked a global discussion on the ethics and safety protocols in space research. Ava and I found ourselves at the forefront of this dialogue, sharing our experiences and insights to help shape future policies and practices. The journey from the fiery corridors of Phoenix 7 to the secure labs of the research facility was more than a physical one. It was a journey of growth, understanding, and a renewed commitment to the safe exploration and utilization of space. Our story became a beacon, a lesson on the importance of caution and responsibility in the face of human curiosity and ambition. The memory of Phoenix 7 would linger, a reminder of the thin line between discovery and disaster, and the eternal vigilance required to walk it safely. Our roles in this saga may have concluded, but the story of human endeavor in space continued, each chapter a reflection of our unending quest for knowledge, tempered by the wisdom gained from our past experiences. The journey back home for Ava Santos and me, Mason Harper, was more than just a physical return. It was a journey back to normalcy after an ordeal that had pushed us to our limits. The Phoenix 7 incident had ended, but its echoes resonated in our lives and the lives of those we had saved. Back on Earth, we were greeted not just as heroes, but as harbingers of a crucial message about the balance between scientific exploration and safety. Our experience had become a case study, a reference point for future space missions. In the days that followed, Ava and I participated in debriefings, conferences, and interviews. We shared our story, emphasizing the lessons learned and the importance of stringent safety protocols in space research. Our ordeal had highlighted the need for caution in the face of unknown risks, especially when venturing into the uncharted territories of space. The scientists we rescued from Phoenix 7 went on to continue their research, albeit with a renewed perspective on safety and ethical considerations. Dr. Emily Nguyen, in particular, became an advocate for responsible scientific inquiry, her experience on Phoenix 7 a turning point in her career. As for Ava and me, the incident forged a bond between us, a shared understanding and respect that only those who have faced such trials could comprehend. We remained in touch, occasionally collaborating on safety seminars and training programs for aspiring spacefarers. As I reflect on our journey and its implications, I realize that our story is a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. It serves as a reminder of the risks inherent in the quest for knowledge and the importance of preparedness and caution. The Phoenix 7 incident, with its dangers and triumphs, have become a part of us. It shaped our outlook on life, on our responsibilities as individuals at the forefront of space exploration, and on the collective responsibility of humanity as we reach for the stars. As I conclude this chapter of the story, I turn to you, the reader. Write in the comments below the video, what do you think about this story? Do you think the characters did the right thing? Click the like button and subscribe if you like our stories.